Cuyahoga County Council regular meeting for Tuesday, August 1st, 2023 is now called to order. Andrew, would you please call the roll?
Good evening, everyone. It is now 5:10 p.m. As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Tuma.
Here.
Mr. Gallagher.
Here.
Mr. Schron.
Here.
Ms. Conwell.
Here.
Ms. Turner.
Here.
Ms. Stevens.
Present.
Ms. Simon.
Here.
Mr. Kelly.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Present.
Mr. Sweeney.
Present.
Council President Jones.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, can we entertain a motion to excuse Council Member Cheryl Stevens from the July 24th special meeting?
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. At this time, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Today, we will be hearing two items related to the extension of the sales tax. The first two ordinances on the agenda relate to the extension of the county's 0.25% sales and use tax as part of the jail financing plan. The point of this council meeting is to hear feedback during public comment, listen to the presentation from the administration, and continue the dialogue around the legislation. Ohio law requires us to hold two public hearings before passage of the legislation to extend the sales tax. Accordingly, today's council meeting will serve as the second public hearing on these items. These two items will also be on tonight's council agenda for consideration. Because two items on our agenda relate to the same topic, after public comment, I will ask the clerk, without objection from my colleagues, I will ask the clerk to read the two items into the record, and we can then proceed to the presentation from the administration. Do we have anyone signed in for public comment?
Yes, Jason Seether, councilman from Garfield Heights. Mr. Seether, if you can make sure that the green button is lit and speak loud into the microphone and state your name for the record.
Hi, yes, Jason Seither. I am the acting councilman of Ward 3 for the city of Garfield Heights. I just wanted to come up tonight and just speak and say that I wanted to voice my approval of the site move of the county jail moving to Garfield Heights. I know myself and my colleagues put a letter through about a month or so ago. I just want to come up and personally give my approval on that. And also, secondly, I want to thank you guys for making some moves today to kind of make that move forward. So thank you.
Mayor Matt Burke.
Good evening, Mayor Matt Burke, City of Garfield Heights. Just wanted to echo my colleague previous here. I really appreciate that you all doing a very thorough job of really debating this and making some progress today. Like I said in the past, I believe this is the best location for the county because of the environmentally clean status of that land. I do want to also add that on August 19th, we will be having a public engagement meeting. I've invited County Executive Ronayne to join us that day and hopefully educate the residents in our city as to what could possibly be coming and what's really on the agenda there. Also, to date, just to report, it has been out now for a little over 2 years, but it really ramped up about 2 months ago. And to date, I've had about 14 people that have been concerned, but all in favor have called me. I've not had anybody that has called to voice strong opposition to it, and I thought I would after our last council meeting in Garfield Heights when I reported the situation as I knew it. We had 3 members of our residents come, and when I gave my report on what could possibly be coming and asking them to come to a further public engagement meeting, I think I answered a lot of their concerns and questions, but I'm very happy that we will be having some kind of public engagement, and I want to thank you all today for some of the progress that you've made. Thank you.
Thomas Longo?
Thank you for giving us a chance to address the issue that's before you. I spent 26 years as mayor of Garfield Heights. We bought the land and we cleared out the residents, which you can't do today, which is now up for consideration at this location. 180,000 cars a day go by that one location. Some of the lessons that you learned, and there's been a lot of activity that I've been involved with through the years, head of the Mayor's Association, it's first ring suburbs, on it goes. When you work in this kind of environment, it's decision by committee. Committees have to get together and come to a conclusion. And one of the things that I learned, don't nickel dime the project. Go for the whole hog. They did that with the baseball field, another $500,000. They could have had a dome. The library system did that, and now they built their libraries all over the Cuyahoga County. Beautiful, well-maintained, just perfect. Item 2, don't ride the fence. Defend your constituents. But when it comes to a project like this, you have to look at the whole picture as far as the county is concerned. Decisions that are made at the top are the #1 reason why organizations and institutions fail. There's a golden opportunity here to do something that hundreds of years from now, people are either going to take and consider, or they're going to say you were a total failure. I think it's going to be a real win-win situation for everyone. But when you ride the fence and you try and play all sides, everybody winds up hating you. Take a stand. And the last tidbit that I learned, strive to solve problems. Anyone can look at a project and come up with 15 ways to kill it. Yep. But if you approach it from the standpoint, how can we accomplish this? All of a sudden, it's like a deck of cards. Everything starts to fall into place. And that's my advice to you. Make a decision. You're dealing with committees. Don't ride the fence. Work through the problems, and this project will happen. Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Ross DeBello?
Hello all. My name is Ross DeBello. I'm an attorney in West Park and worked at County Court in the Justice Center for almost 8 years. I want to ask that you stand strong and refuse to support a new jail in Garfield Heights and instead take a more holistic and yet cheaper approach with the current structure. I'll make a promise to you. Law enforcement and incarceration are not crime prevention, despite our inclinations. America is one of about 200 countries. America has about 4% of the world's population. We're supposedly advanced and wealthy, yet we jail 20% of the world's prisoners. If we want to be better than Franklin, Hamilton, Erie, Allegheny, and other comparable counties, we need you to fight off the wealthiest influences on this issue. If we continue to need 34 county courts, that alone is the verdict on our financial decisions. Those other counties have similar populations and influences to us, yet far less courts. The best investors in the world know what's happening here today. The Warren Buffetts of the world. They are currently investing more or are bullish on the for-profit prison industrial complex. They are gambling on who will win here, the contractors or the tax-paying community. I also used to be a professional gambler. I follow what the population thinks and why. These elite stock traders do the same thing. They have a much more nuanced understanding of money and politics than the general public. They calculate that you all are, in fact, good folk, good servants, trying your best. But they also know that the influences for anybody in your shoes are hard to see above. If we say no to the consultants and spend as little as possible on new walls and bars and a little more on the food and management of our current jail, we will see lower crime. You will also have less deaths, less negative publicity, and more money in our coffers if we take this strategy and eliminate jail deaths and the ungodly lawsuits that follow. The council people in those other counties will most likely be successfully lobbied by the people who profit on the building of the cages. In 10 years, maybe they will need more county courts and jail cells than we will here. This is our chance to show people that live just outside Cuyahoga that we do good governance and smart spending. Until then, Cleveland and Garfield Heights will continue to be less popular places to live with declining property values and rising crime. We know why the county executive campaigned on no new tax for a new jail, because it's what the silent majority wants. We need you to see above the selling points of the consultants and stand strong. Thank you.
Laura Pettery.
I'm a resident of Garfield Heights.
Ms. Pettery, first of all, if you could speak into the microphone. and
I'm a
state your
resident of
name.
Garfield
State your name
Heights.
for the record, please.
Laura Pateri.
Thank you.
I live at 10200 Granger Road. I look at this site every morning. I'm 4 stories up. I am totally against any planning of a jail in our community. I look at the traffic every day. It's a lot of traffic on Granger Road and Transportation Boulevard. We have built our community up from a dump of 30 years of catastrophe. And I was a person who lived on the site where Walmart was established. I have seen degradation of our community just from that site. Well, our mayor has helped us build it up with a lot of industry. The city is settling back down. Now, the traffic in Garfield Heights is quite bad all day long. Turney Road is packed. There's 4 schools on Turney Road itself. On Granger Road, it's only first-time buyer houses, very, very small houses. They have to put up with a lot of truck traffic. You intend to build a jail that will look like Alcatraz Island. There is no in and out of that peninsula, only Transportation Boulevard and Granger Road. That's it. I don't see how you could put a municipal court next to a prison of felons. It just doesn't work. I don't care how you're trying to jelly bean it and make it look beautiful, it's not going to. On top of everything, that's the 3rd highest site in the state of Ohio. It's beautiful. From my apartment, I can see all the way to Strongsville. It's the most beautiful site that I've ever seen. It's growing. The land around the site is loose and fragmented, just like the dump. It wasn't built correctly. It wasn't landed correctly. There's a lot of things wrong with your idea to put a county jail in Garfield Heights. So I would tell you to look at it again. I'm going to vote no. All my friends are going to vote no. It's going to cause complete gridlock. The planning in your budget doesn't fit what Garfield Heights is. It's the community of homes. There's 28,000 people who live there. And you're going to create complete gridlock for yourself and for Cuyahoga County. I would plead to you to find another location, as you can look at the history of Garfield Heights and see what's happened to us there. Please look at another site. Thank you so much.
Mark Smith. I apologize, Mark Smith. Uh-huh.
Not Mark Smith. Mark Smith. Good afternoon, Council President. Thank you, first of all, for this opportunity to stand before you. My name is
Smith,
Mark Smith,
thank you.
and I am a resident of the city of Garfield Heights. I've been there since 1994. In fact, my wife and I built a home there primarily for three reasons: location, location, location. It's got easy access. In the city of Garfield, you could pretty much be anywhere in the area, downtown, et cetera, in less than about 10 minutes or so. Freeway access is right there. And that is a primary reason I believe that it should be considered a fact that we should consider the building of the jail where you are currently, or where we're currently looking at it. I had some reservations, I will admit to all of you, primarily security. But in another hat that I wear, there's a particular scripture that says, "In all thy getting, get an understanding." So I found myself getting an understanding, and I went to an SME subject matter expert who happens to be my neighbor, who is a former warden down at the city jail, retired, indicating that security would probably be enhanced, if anything. So therefore, I have taken that completely out of the equation. I also am the precinct committee person, and I've done some polling in the area. In Ward 3 especially, I found that most, once hearing about the security issue, for that is, for all intents and purposes, the major issue of most individuals, once hearing the definition or the description of what the warden has said, most of them seem to have a positive reaction as to why we should have that jail built in the location that is being considered. I appreciate the time that you've given me, and we look forward to a positive result.
Lou?
Good evening, everybody. Well, in this public hearing or public comments, doesn't matter how you put it. The facts remain the same. GCRTA has been funded to be a county-wide operation since 1974 or 5, and their funding source is a sales tax. But the rate they could use has never been raised throughout how many decades by now? They want to help, but only one bus route can go through the site. That tells you how much struggle GCRTA has gone through, because our state government is always cheating on transportation fundings. On the other hand, ARPA funds actually is for the recovery in the community due to COVID-19 pandemic. Why we cannot use that funding for affordable housing or demolish the shelter buildings to rebuild? That still puzzles me. No community can go prosperous just because they built a jail there. The best land use, which is an appraisal point of view, for such a rare opportunity, we should think about mixed use, multi-family projects, housing, school, local business, any of those things you can put to actually establish a sustainable economy growth for Garfield Heights, one of our great cities in our county. But no, Which country or which community you have ever heard having a jail there will actually boost their local economy? Please, don't insult people in Garfield Heights. They need environment, good environment investment. They need good public education investment. They need good public transportation investment. They need good public educational investment, just like everybody else. Please give them that opportunity instead of putting a county jail there. The job will not really grow from there. The value of the property actually will go down. Please, invest the people, but don't give the administrative part of the government and the judicial part of the government another opportunity to push responsibility to one another, not doing the job they have been promised people for decades. For example, bail reform. No need to increase the possibility for mass incarceration. Thank you.
Matthew On.
Good afternoon. My name is Matthew On. I am a resident of Council District 7. Y'all have heard me speak on the jail before, but I just want to zoom back out and make sure we're clear about what we're really sort of talking about doing here. We're talking about, possibly up to $2 billion after debt servicing, right, to be committed to the construction of a new jail that we know is larger than necessary to promote public safety. As I've said a few times before, a 4-day jail stay for somebody with a relatively minor criminal record increases their risk of recidivism by 50%. We're talking about roughly $2 billion after debt servicing to remove the jail from a downtown site that minimizes logistical costs to a site that is going to require the purchase and maintenance of dozens of additional vehicles for transport, vehicles that stakeholders in many roles in the Justice Center have expressed concerns about, right? I have already talked to you about the way that this will actually increase pretrial detention because folks who are late to bond modification hearings will have to stay in jail until their bond modification hearing is rescheduled. We've seen this happen in other cities that have converted to off-site jails, as I've previously expressed. I've also heard both, folks who are attorneys in the Justice Center who are very concerned about these vehicles being potential weak points for escape concerns. We are talking about $2 billion that is going to be collected as a regressive tax for a proposal that is being passed with 2 public engagement meetings that a 9-to-5 job holder cannot comment at without taking time off. We are talking about roughly $2 billion after debt servicing for a jail that corrections officers have told this body repeatedly will not fix the problem that our law enforcement officers in that jail are seeing day in and day out. We had multiple corrections officers here last year that specifically said that a reduction of the current jail population is all the support that they need to bring some of the other issues that we continue to see at the jail under control. Right. We are talking about roughly $2 billion for a jail that is going to need specific additional transit outlays to be accessible to the community that it is primarily serving, for lack of a better word. So I am here once again as a resident of downtown Cleveland to say that a new jail that is not built in my neighborhood, in my backyard, will lead to greater problems down the line that this sales tax is not prepared to cover. Thank you very much.
Clifford Kelly.
First, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to Council President and the rest of Council. I am Clifford Kelly, Councilman in the City of Garfield Heights, Ward 6, and the residents that I've spoken with, had conversation with, I'll be honest with you, I have not heard one negative comment about the jail coming to Garfield. Some have either emailed me or called me with questions. And after the conversation, then I got well, you know what, I was going to say no, but now that you've explained it, I understand. Now, I'm sure there is some voices or contention, but when you weigh the balance, I mean, if you put the comments on the scale and weigh the balance, there are far more people who are in favor for this jail moving to Garfield Heights than oppose it. Now, there is I serve not only as a councilman, but in the hat that I wear as a pastor. I kind of thought about this verse that came up in Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 11. And it says, because a sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily, therefore the heart of the sons of man are fully set to do evil, in them to do evil. In other words, I understand that we have entered into this era of jail reform, and we have to look at how we are sentencing certain actions. But let's take a real close look at what's happening in our country today. That people who commit a crime, they go in to be booked and then are let right back out. And because we don't deal with these situations, how many times do they continue to commit crimes before the sentence is actually executed? Now, I served as a correction officer in that county jail that we're talking about right now for 5 years during the Gerald T. McFall days. So I know exactly what's been going on in there even since I've left. When we look at what's being considered moved to Garfield, and we look at
Finish your thought.
Okay. And when we look at thank you, sir. And when we look at the situation of the funding, when we look at how we're talking about executing funds, in the movement of this jail, every action that you're asking for is being met. So I strongly ask that you consider the continuance of moving this jail. We thank you for what you've done. And you have my consideration, you have my vote, and those who represent me. Thank you.
Kareem Hinton.
Afternoon once again, everybody. Kareem Hinton with the Jail Coalition. Firstly, I want to say that we really need to put everything on the table and just show it for what it is. If you plan on building the new jail in Garfield, the courthouse is going to have to follow. And if that is the case, because of all the logistical concerns, the inner workings of the courts, the attorneys not having access, the judges not having access, the transportation issues, people that are going to be making complaints and lawsuits against the system because of its deficiencies and how it's wrecking the process. Those are things that are going to be coming. Let's be honest about what that price tag is going to be. I heard the conversation about, let's talk about easy access. People released who are desperate and lacking at times enough mental function are going to be making their way back home, for example, down Granger Road. Not very well lit, heavily traveled by semis. Maybe they'll make their way to 480. I want to put you on notice about this because if and when anything happens as a result, I'm going to say I told you. Where the jail currently exists, we have proper access to transportation. And we also have access to services. I think we're putting the cart before the horse when we have meetings here talking about we want to put money down or we want to purchase this property before it's even been approved. You know, that's pretty generous of you considering that's all of our money too. We just did that with the one on transport where you had a contingency agreement and that person, without doing much of anything, just made out. And we didn't even build it there and they got free money. Stop giving away our money like that. Nobody wants, like, let's be honest, services are going to have to move to Garfield as a result of this. Do a poll, ask these council people, these politicians, to do a poll and be honest. How many of those residents are going to want a homeless shelter in Garfield? How many? And the homeless shelter that exists for people aging out of foster care to have mental health deficiencies. Yeah, I'm up on it. Anyway, so who wants drug addictive services located in Garfield? You know what that's going to bring, and people are going to be upset about that, I'm sure, because not everybody's in that frame of mind. So, but the folks who are connected with this are connected because they're in politics or because they stand to make money off of this. Let's acknowledge it for what it is. All I ask is, do you care about those? Last thing I'll just ask on my earlier point, do you care about those folks that are going to possibly lose their lives or get hurt even walking down Granger Road or walking on the 480? There are a lot of things for you to consider, and I hope you consider everything and present them accordingly to the public. Thank you.
Next, John, and I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. It looks like Kirk. Eckerly. Thank you.
My name is John Eckerly, and I'm a resident of Ward 16 in Cleveland, Ohio. I've talked to you before about systemic change and how important it is. The Vibrant Neo report basically says every community in Northeast Ohio is going to be deeply underwater just because of infrastructure by 2040. This is a decision that each of you is making for 30, 40 years. I think that we have the wrong thought about the system, and that's the word jail. I think each one of you, and I'm a supporter of this administration, but I think each one of you should be asking, Chris, what is the system's approach to this problem? What is the jail system? What is the systemic solution? It's both publicity about this and the thought process is wrong. It should be, what is the system's approach to this? What is the system solution? What is the systemic change? You should be going to those officers in that jail and saying, what is wrong with this? What's your idea? Cafeteria worker, the same. The inmate, the same. You should be going to probation officers in juvenile justice and saying, what is the problem? What is the solution? What is coming up? This is your opportunity to present a real change. And all you need to do is walk up and say, you know, I want a systemic solution. I want a system change here. I want to take this opportunity to spend whatever billions someone comes up with and say, what is the change? We've been doing it this way for a long time, not quite working. You know, we've had a lot of sheriffs, we've had a lot of problems, we've had a lot of suits. Maybe there needs to be a difference. Maybe there needs to be not just a search for who's going to be the sheriff, but a search for what is the solution to the problem. And so I think each one of you should walk up and say, you know, I don't think the problem is whether it's in Garfield Heights or not. I don't think the problem is whether it's downtown. I don't think the problem is whether it's got toxic waste buried. I think it's a problem of systemic thinking about this. And I know there's public servants everywhere that are doing a yeoman's job and trying to make it work right. But we all know that when we're in those roles, we kind of go along with the system. Ask for a systemic change. Thank you.
Thank you.
State Rep Darnell Brewer.
Trust me. You know, before I was a
State Rep Brewer, if you could state your name for the record. Thank you.
Darnell T. Brewer, State Representative, District 18, which encompasses the wards of Cleveland, Maple, and Garfield Heights. I know I'll probably lose some votes today as a friend today, but when you stand in these roles, you have to make these tough decisions. And from listening to not just the elected officials, but also the residents who call my offices, who speak to me in these meetings. And I've been to public meetings in Garfield and beyond. And one thing that gets people is the word jail. But I want you to take that out of your mind, because what Renee is trying to do, what you all are trying to do, what these people are trying to do here, even the ones who are against it, is trying to say there's a different way to think of how it needs to be done. And as I tell the residents when I speak to them at these meetings, I say, if they're going to build a campus on your facility in Garfield, make sure they have the type of resources to make that building go out of business in 20 years. Whether it be a cooking school, whether it be Metro Health, whether it be a garden, we need to change the way that we are doing what we're doing. We need to find a way to bring everyone to the table. It's going to be hard. The guards, the courts, the systems, the transportation. But I'm asking you all, in support of Mr. Ronay and the council people here and the mayor, in bringing in their decision and wanting to support that campus to come to their facility. But it's going to be hard. And so I'm asking each one of you to make that hard decision to support the administration in bringing this to their community. It's not just about a tax base. I think their hearts are saying this is a time to reimagine how we can turn this facility into something more than a jail. If you think of Franklin County, if you think of other counties, trust me, they have these same conversations. And you know, I go to Franklin County all the time and I talk to them and I listen to them and I saw where it's located. It's located in a residential facility and they have no problems at all. As a matter of fact, they're advocating for stuff like this. So I stand here to ask us all to just take a step back and reimagine how we can change this, because it's going to go somewhere. No matter where you put it, somebody's going to be at this podium and say, I don't want it here or I don't want it there. But if it goes into Garfield, I'm urging every resident of Garfield, every resident of Coward County, to make sure, those who oppose and those who want it there, that the type of services that they need are on that campus. So once again, I ask you all to just reimagine what's going on, take back, sit back, make those hard decisions, because I have to do it down there in Columbus. Me and your daughter have to do those decisions in Columbus, and you all have to do it as council people, county council. So I thank you all for your vote, your decision, and I thank you all for listening. Appreciate it, and thank you.
Chris Martin.
Hi, Chris Martin, City of Cleveland, County Council District 7. I hadn't planned on speaking today, but I got actually inspiration from Lou, so thank you, Lou. Yeah, I mean, it's true. If y'all extend this sales tax, it becomes that much harder to find new local funding for transit. And that thought brought me back to my high school economics class, and they talked about guns and butter, kind of what we value. Do we value capital expenditures? Do we value operating expenses? And with this jail, we're saying we value guns over butter, we value capital projects over operating expenses. We just heard a plea that we use this opportunity to reimagine I don't know, shiny new buildings don't reimagine anything. Shiny new buildings don't provide justice. We've heard folks say like they've done some local polling, they've gotten a lot of calls, maybe answered some questions, and they've heard general support. Great. So if this sales tax extension that y'all 11 are going to vote on, and after what, as Matthew said, that folks that work 9 to 5 can't attend unless they're going to take time off of work. You're going to have 2 meetings to hear from the public on this. If the sales tax extension is so popular, as County Executive Romaine said he would do on the campaign trail, put it to a vote. If it's so popular with all these folks in Garfield Heights, if it's so popular across the county, put it to a vote. Or, you know, you could have 2 meetings at 5 o'clock on a Tuesday and make this decision. I guess it's up to you. Yeah, thanks.
That concludes the public comment portion for today's meeting.
All right. Items for public hearing. Madam Clerk, if you would read the following items consecutively into the record.
Ordinance 2023-0012, amending and codifying Board of County Commissioners Resolution Number 2007-07-3101, dated July 26, 2007, and enacting new Chapter 727, Section 727.01 of the Cuyahoga County Code to change the period of time during which the county sales tax shall be levied at the aggregate rate of 1 1/4%. Ordinance 2023-0013, amending and codifying Board of County Commissioners Resolution Number 2007-07-3102, dated July 26, 2007, and enacting new Chapter 727, Section 727.02 of the Cuyahoga County Code to change the period of time during which the county use tax shall be levied at the aggregate rate of 1 1/4%.
Madam Clerk, aren't there various individuals that are going to present from the administration?
Yes, but I don't see them in the audience.
Council President Brendan Doyle, Interim Chief of Staff. Our presentations were during the Committee of the Whole meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So today is the second of 2 public hearings for our ordinances, again, in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code, and that is Ordinance 2023-0012 and 02023-013.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Could I ask the legal advisor who just gave this that information, what is being proposed then? If you can make clarity for us? Because I don't know whether this is
We're not doing any voting right now.
No, I understand that. This is what was read in the record. Is this a 20-year, 30-year, 40-year? What is being proposed?
They are both 40-year extensions, a 40-year extension of the sales tax and a 40-year extension of the use tax. And as mentioned, this is the second of 2 statutorily required public hearings under 5739.026A of the Revised Code.
Thank you.
They're both 40 years.
Thank you.
All right, so we have done our due diligence. So at this time, approval of our minutes. Can we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented on our agenda?
So moved. Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Are there any messages from the administration?
Thanks very much, Council President Jones. Brendan Doyle, Interim Chief of Staff. The only message from the county executive is to reiterate the urgency of this county moving forward with building a new jail. First, we've heard from our Public Works Department regarding if we do not move forward, the millions and millions of dollars that we will be spending to try to fix our current facility, which is outdated. We don't believe that it's fair or appropriate that our taxpayers continue to fund that facility, and we know the shape that it's in currently. Secondly, and most importantly, it is to reiterate that we need to, as this body well knows, we need to have a facility that treats those individuals who are in our custody in the most humane way possible, and to be housed in the most humane facility possible. And so we, the county executive, would request and urge this council to continue to move forward and to make progress on building a new jail facility. Thank you.
Right. Legislation introduced by council. Consideration of resolutions of council for first reading and referral to committee.
Resolution 2023-0222, awarding a total sum not to exceed $250,000 to Mobile Med 1, doing business as MedWorks, for the purpose of expanding MedWorks oral health and dental care in Cleveland from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
This item will be referred to the Health, Human Services, and Aging Committee.
Resolution 2023-0223, adopting various changes to the Cuyahoga County Non-Bargaining Classification Plan.
This item will be referred to the Human Resources, Appointments and Equity Committee. Committee report and consideration of a resolution of council for second reading.
Resolution 2023-0204, awarding a total sum not to exceed $25,000 to the Neighborhood Pets Outreach and Resource Center for pet care support for homebound seniors from the District 8 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Move to adopt.
Second.
It's second reading only.
Oh,
Council President.
second, yes. Yes, go right ahead.
Trevor Meckler, County Council staff. Before you, in your packet, there should be a proposed substitute that would change the recommended award from $25,000 to a total of $30,000. Currently, as presented, Council President Jones introduced legislation that would award $25,000 from the District 8 ARPA dollars, and during the committee last Wednesday, Councilwoman Simon mentioned that she was going to propose a substitute to increase the award to $30,000. So $5,000 would come from the District 11 ARPA awards.
All right. So we did have our motion. It was seconded. You were presented. And now we will have a motion to accept the proposed substitute.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I'll add my name, aye.
And I'll just briefly say I've had the opportunity to tour this facility in Slavic Village, and they are doing incredible social service work of helping the needs of the most vulnerable people, but they're doing it through pets, the love of individuals for their pets. As they address the needs of their pets as a store, they are engaging individuals and genuinely helping many in the community who are the most vulnerable people, through a very unique approach, again, through the love of their pets. So, again, this is something I support. So all those in favor of accepting the proposed substitute, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And this item will move to the September 12th council agenda for consideration for third reading adoption. Consideration of resolutions of council for third reading adoption.
Resolution 2023-0166, awarding a total sum not to exceed $106,000 to Merrick House for the Youth Development and Leadership Program from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Second. This matter was heard in Education Environment, but I'm going to defer to colleague Conwell to talk about the item.
All right, thank you. This was fully vetted in the Health and Human Services Committee. It's Youth Development and Leadership Program in a district on the west side. In regards to the youth, we always talk about the negative things, and especially the conversations in regards to the jail. So this is very fitting that we can actually give some funding to our youth in the community to do positive things and have leadership and to be in a development and a leadership program. So I ask my colleagues for their support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0167, awarding a total sum not to exceed $49,000 to Merrick House for capital improvements to the Merrick House Community Center from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Move to adopt.
Second.
This matter was heard in Education and Environment. I defer to Councilwoman Conwell.
As she stated, this is fully vetted. This is also the same building that we talked about in the previous legislation. It's an older community center. It's a nonprofit. It gets limited funding. And so we have a lot of nonprofits in our county that are falling apart that need some kind of maintenance. So this was an agreement to help with the electrical and things of that nature, which will keep the youth, as they're there participating, cooler. So I ask my colleagues for their support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2023-0169, awarding a total sum not to exceed $75,000 to the Catholic Charities Job and Career Training Center for the Workforce Development Career Pathways Project from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Thank you. This matter was heard in Education and Environment. I defer again to my colleague Conwell.
All right, thank you. This is a nonprofit community center seeking a strategic plan to see which direction that they will need to go in order to help in training and workforce development. So I ask my colleagues for their support.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0173, awarding a total sum not to exceed $25,000 to the Olivet Housing and Community Development Corporation for the Nexus Initiative and Workforce Development Training and Education from the District 7 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Move to adopt.
Second.
This matter was heard in Education and Environment, and I again defer to my colleague.
All right, thank you. This was fully vetted in this committee as well as its reentry. This Development Corp is putting back into people that are reentering back into society and workforce and development and education. And as the county needs all help in those areas, so I ask my colleagues to fully support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0185, awarding a total sum not to exceed $9,998 to the City of Fairview Park for the Fairview Park Police Patrol Bicycle Project from the District 1 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, this was heard in safety, and I'll turn this over to Councilman Kelly, who's the sponsor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fairview Park Bicycle Patrol is pretty much non-existent at this point. These two bicycles that they are going to purchase will help with their community policing and also for some patrol in their parks and their neighborhoods, and I ask for my colleagues' support on this.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0186, awarding a total sum not to exceed $225,000 to Baldwin Wallace University for year 2 of the Northeast Ohio Flight Information Exchange Program from the District 2 ARPA Community Grant Fund and the Department of Development's General Fund budget.
Move to adopt.
Second. Mr. President, this was heard in safety, and I'll turn this over to Mr. Miller, who's the primary sponsor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Chairman, and colleagues. This resolution provides $225,000 in second-year funding to Baldwin Wallace University for the development of NeoFix, the drone flight information system. NeoFix made impressive progress in the first year in accomplishing their initial implementation objectives. Funding is 50% from District 2 ARPA and 50% from the economic development budget, and the combined funding will cover half of the project cost for the second year. Thanks very much to Executive Romaine and his administration for their support of this highly innovative economic development project. I request the support of my colleagues.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0187, awarding a total sum not to exceed $250,000 to the Old Brooklyn Community Development Corporation for the purpose of Memphis and Pearl Redevelopment Project from the District 3 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
So moved.
Second.
I just want to share with everybody, it's a wonderful project. It's going to make that thoroughfare through Old Brooklyn, what it used to be and what it can be. And they were so excited to come down and tell everybody, and I appreciate your support. So thank you.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The resolution is adopted.
Resolution 2023-0188, awarding a total sum not to exceed $10,000 to Enlightened Solutions for Project Noir from the District 9 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, this came before the Community Development Committee, and I defer to my colleague to my right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It was an honor to hear the proposal of Enlightened Solutions in their project Noir, which dealt with a major report that noted that Cleveland was last in metrics of livable cities for Black women. And the funding would support their work to answer questions such as a Black woman, what is it like to live in a city that experts agree is the worst place for you? And how can individuals and anchor institutions create tangible research-focused solutions? So we're going to help them do that, and I ask for my colleagues' support.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0189, awarding a total sum not to exceed $30,000 to the Denikin Foundation for the Comics at the Corner Literacy Lounge from the Districts 8, 9, 10, and 11 ARPA Community Grant Funds.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Thank you. This matter was heard in the Education Committee and want to defer now to my colleague sponsoring that, Turner.
Thank you. I had an opportunity to actually watch the presentation made by Ms. Dawn Arrington, and I was just amazed at how much my colleagues enjoyed hearing her story. She and her husband were inspired to create literacy lounges and comic corner opportunities to address literacy in her neighborhood of Mount Pleasant and the Buckeye Woodland area. And I wanted to offer any of my colleagues the opportunity to speak on this as well, because I saw you all had a really amazing time with Ms. Arrington.
So Ms. Arrington should become a national fundraiser for this, because she walked in and walked out with 200% more than she came in the door with. But it is something that learning to read, as you all know, is one of my biases, and different people learn how to read in different ways. And so this is something different from the traditional way of engaging a child's attention to keep them reading. And I thought it was outside the standard box, and anything we can do to get people to read more, especially at early ages, helps achieve higher levels of literacy in this country, and higher levels of literacy help create economic engagement and provide more jobs and better jobs for the residents of our communities. Thank you.
I thought it was very refreshing to see a new idea of that nature, comic books on the corner, where it was promoting the education. It wasn't just a few months ago that we were also hearing about the Dolly Parton. Again, another healthy way in which we were encouraging reading. And so comic books on the corner was a new, fresh approach. And I would not be shocked if we don't see this young lady launching this as a national venture at some point along the way, and you see these franchises popping up all around the country. And wouldn't it be cool if Comic Books on the Corner got launched out of Cleveland, Ohio?
I just want to commend Councilwoman Meredith Turner. for supporting this, and I was happy to have give some financial contribution as well. It's an incredible project. Ms. Dawn Arrington is an incredible young lady, and reading comic books are something I've done since I was a kid. Still read them to this day. And if you've never read one, but you watched a movie, whether it was The Avengers or Black Panther, you've seen those movies. What you're seeing are stories that were lifted from the pages of comic books that kids read. And if you were ever excited about a movie, the children got excited about those comic books when they read those same stories for the first time. So it is an art form that allows us to learn to read, and allows our children to get one of those first engagements and opportunities just to read on their own. And comic books were started here in Cleveland. Superman was created right here in this town, so the whole world knows Superman. That building right outside of the window, the AT&T building, is the model for the Daily Planet back in the early 20s and 30s. So the culture of this art is right here in this community, and this young lady is starting something that really could be a national model, and it makes perfect sense that it starts right here.
Absolutely.
So I'm happy to support this as well.
And
again,
thank you.
kudos to Meredith Turner, Councilwoman.
I will.
Yes, I'd just like to say ditto to all what my colleagues have said. Engaging our children to want to read is the number one priority, or should be, in order for us, as my colleague Stevens has said, for economic development, for Cuyahoga County to thrive. So I want to personally thank Councilwoman Turner for finding it and bringing it to our attention, because as they say every day, you learn something new every day. And so I learned something new in the committee that day. So
Absolutely.
I fully support.
Thank you. And I have a basement full. I have my own collection. I don't know if it's worth anything, but I also learned how to read on Richie Rich and Archie comic books. So I ask for my colleagues' support. This feels so good. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0190, awarding a total sum not to exceed $10,000 to Birthing Beautiful Communities for the Birth Center Facility Project from the District 9 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Move to adopt. Second. I'd like to turn this over to District 9 Representative Turner.
Thank you so much. Again, we have another amazing young leader in our community, Ms. Jasmine Long, and Birthing Beautiful Communities, whose mission is to address infant mortality and Black maternal health. And so I don't know if you're seeing a theme here around literacy for myself and the county's resolution declaring racism as a public health crisis. So I'm trying to do my part, not just talk the talk, but actually walk it. So I ask for my colleagues' support on this very important issue around Black maternal health and infant mortality.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0191, awarding a total sum not to exceed $100,000 to the McGregor Foundation for the McGregor Independent Living Project from the District 10 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Moved. Second.
Mr. President, this is a project that is headed quickly toward completion. One of the problems in senior living is quality and affordability. Don't often get linked. McGregor is well known not only in this region but nationally for coming up with new ideas to structure senior living. And so it was with delight that I gave them from our ARPA allocation $100,000 to see completion happen within the next 90 days of this significant project, providing quality affordable senior living in Greater Cleveland. Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0192, awarding a total sum not to exceed $23,000 to Share Homes, Inc. for the Safety Mental Health Tracker from the District 11 ARPA Community Grant Fund.
Move to adopt.
Thanks. Second.
I'd like to turn this over to my District 11 Representative Simon.
Thank you. So this is a pilot project in which there would be an app developed in the city of Euclid and part of South Euclid to enable mentally disabled individuals or people with issues to have a tracker that will be connected to the police dispatch, basically. So if there's an incident involving law enforcement or police, there'll be a heads up that maybe this person who's acting out on a corner or in front of a store, they'll know that that person's suffering from some type of mental disability and not rush in to do things drastically for, and understanding this is a person that needs help rather than apprehension. So I ask for your support. It's a pilot, and hopefully we'll see how this goes to protect people with these disabilities.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Legislation introduced by executive. Consideration of resolutions for first reading adoption under suspension of rules. Can I have a motion to suspend the rules?
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0224, amending the 2022-2023 biennial operating budget for 2023 by providing for additional fiscal appropriations from the general fund, appropriation transfers, and cash transfers.
Move to adopt. Mr. President, my colleagues, this resolution is the regular fiscal agenda of budget amendments. Answers to our questions to OBM are on your desks. Most items are routine appropriations of grants and appropriation transfers within accounts, but two items are notable. First, $2.4 million is appropriated for the Child Wellness Campus, with 50% of the funding from the Board of Developmental Disabilities and 50% from the Adams Board. Second, $5,532,000 is appropriated for increased jail medical services costs. While I recommend passage on first reading suspension to move things along, both items deserve further discussion going forward. In particular, I believe that service utilization and accountability on the jail medical services can be improved to save money without impacting quality of care. I recommend passage on first reading suspension.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0225, approving a proposed settlement in the matter of Deontay James versus Cuyahoga County et al., United States District Court for the Northern District of Ohio, Eastern Division, case number 121 CV 1958.
Move to adopt.
Second.
This item was previously discussed in executive session, and I do ask for my colleagues' support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Consideration of resolutions for first reading and referral to committee.
Resolution 2023-0226, confirming the county executive's appointment and reappointment of various individuals to serve on the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority Board of Trustees for various terms. For appointments for the term March 4th, 2023 through March 3rd, 2026, we have Stephen Love. For an unexpired term ending March 3rd, 2024, we have Deidre McPherson. For reappointment for the term March 4th, 2023 through March 3rd, 2026, we have Karen Moss.
This item will be referred to the Human Resources Appointments and Equity Committee.
Resolution 2023-0227, amending resolution number 2020-0100 dated June 23rd, 2020, which declared public convenience and welfare for the resurfacing of various roads, avenues, and streets located in various municipalities in connection with the 2021 through 2024 Transportation Improvement Program by changing the termini for Forbes Road from First Place to Richmond Road, to Fair Oaks Road to Richmond Road in the cities of Bedford Heights, and the Village of Oakwood, and to change the total estimated project cost from $930 million, $930,000 to $2,130,000 for the items as listed on the agenda.
This item will be referred to the Public Works, Procurement, and Contracting Committee.
Mr. President, would you please add my name to this legislation?
Let's add Councilwoman Turner's name.
Okay. Resolution 2023-0228, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Level 3 Communications LLC for lease of parking lot spaces located at 4000 Euclid Avenue in the city of Cleveland for use by the Department of Health and Human Services for the period April 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2023, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2028, to change the terms effective July 1st, 2023, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $157,500.
This item will be referred to the Public Works, Procurement, and Contracting Committee.
Mr. President,
Yep, that's Councilman.
the previous one for the roads, part of that's in my district. I'd like to add my name to that if possible.
Let's add the councilman's name. Discharge from committee and consideration of a resolution for second reading, adoption under suspension of rules.
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Probably moved and suspended. All in favor of suspending the rules, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0221, authorizing the county executive to accept dedication of land for Daisy Lane in the Sanctuary of Olmsted and the Preserve of Olmsted subdivision, the Sanctuary and Preserve subdivision Phase 3, located in Olmsted Township, as a public street along with established setback lines, rights of ways and easements, authorizing the county executive to accept the dedication of easements for the public utilities, facilities, and appurtenances within the Sanctuary and Preserve subdivision of Phase 3.
Move to adopt.
On July 18th, this item was referred to the Public Works, Procurement, and Contracting Committee, but was inadvertently omitted from the Public Committee agenda. This is a time-sensitive item, and therefore, at this time, there is a representative from the County Planning Commission who is available to answer any questions that the council members may have.
Mr. President, I'm going to second Councilman Gallagher's motion to adopt. On the Planning Commission, I sit on that body. We've reviewed everything, and I'm not sure if Megan wants to come up to reiterate that everything's in order. They've worked really hard to be in compliance, and I recommend that we proceed with passage under suspension.
All right, no questions. All right, thank you. All right, with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, the resolution is adopted. Committee reports and consideration of resolutions for second reading adoption under suspension of rules. Can I have a motion to suspend the rules?
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0181, was held in committee.
Yes, all right, thank you, we will move on.
Resolution 2023-0182, authorizing a real estate purchase agreement with Craig Realty Group Cleveland LLC or its designee in an amount not to exceed $38,703,000 for the purchase of certain parcels of real property in Garfield Heights, Ohio, with access to Granger Road, totaling approximately 72.1 acres, now known as permanent parcel numbers 542-14004, 542-15-002, and 542-22-022, and a portion of permanent parcel number 542-14-002.
We want to move to adopt?
Move to adopt.
Second.
And Councilwoman has a substitute?
Well, the substitute was already passed in committee, and
good.
that substitute will be that which we're voting on at this time, as I
Move
understand
to
it.
adopt as substituted.
As substituted, thank you.
Second.
Andrea, are we in order?
I'm sorry, yes, we are. It was just, I would just ask that the council members please speak a little bit louder into the microphone so that I can hear.
Okay. Councilman Strawn?
Thank you. During the break, I had an opportunity to talk with the law director, and I want to make sure I clearly understand what is taking place here. Is there an obligation to go forward to put $500,000 in as an option, or does the county still have the right to do the $750,000 earnest money deposit as originally written?
Thank you for asking the question. Based upon some conversations that I did have between the Committee of the Whole meeting and this meeting, I feel obligated to clarify the terminology in the substitute resolution, namely that the option fee that is referred to in the substitute resolution includes the non-refundable money that the county might pay to retain the ability to purchase the property at a set price for a specified time period, and excludes any refundable earnest money deposit or good faith deposit. So the two different concepts. One would be again, the non-refundable money would be the option fee, and then the refundable money would be the earnest money deposit. And the legislation as drafted, as I have interpreted it, and I will not speak for the co-sponsors and Mr. King and Mr. McAleer, I'll let them speak for themselves, but it's my understanding that the intent is to limit the option fee, not the earnest money deposit, to $500,000, and that is my interpretation of the legislation before you.
So does that mean, assuming this is passed, that the county executive could option to use the $750,000 earnest money and bypass the $500,000 option?
In that instance, the $750,000 could be the earnest money deposit that would be refundable in the event that the deal does not close. That is separate and distinct from any option fee that might be paid along the way by the county. It does not obligate, this legislation does not obligate the county to necessarily pay any option fee at all if all of the conditions for the purchase of the property are met within the due diligence period of time, at which point no option fee is paid, and the earnest money gets applied to the purchase price, and that's that. If, however, there was, at the end of the due diligence period, for instance, a desire to extend the time period within which to work to try to settle upon the conditions for the purchase, for instance, the extension of the sales and use tax, then the county would need to pay for that. And that would be the option fee that we are talking about, and that's non-refundable. It's applied to the purchase price if we ultimately purchase the property, but if we don't purchase the property, we lose that money. But there is no obligation to pay any option fee, let alone $500,000. It's going to depend upon the circumstances. How long will it take to get to the point where we need to pay for the option, as opposed to just putting down a good faith refundable deposit at the outset to start the due diligence process, which is common in transactions of this nature. I hope that clarifies things.
So the $500,000 option that was just added in this legislation can be ignored by the county executive and go forward with the $750,000 earnest money as originally written.
It cannot be ignored.
But it doesn't have to put it forth.
The distinction would be that the $750,000 is earnest money and not an option fee. The former being refundable and put down as a good faith deposit, as in most commercial real estate transactions and home transactions. The option kicks in if more time is necessary. That's the currently contemplated agreement. And if necessary, an option will be purchased, but only if necessary. It wouldn't be in the county's interest to pay for something that it doesn't need. But we'll know it when we get there. We'll know if we need it to purchase that option if we get there. And then what the legislation does is it caps the aggregate amount of those paid-for extensions, if you will, non-refundable paid-for extensions. It caps the aggregate amount at $500,000. As currently contemplated, the agreement has about $400,000 of non-refundable option fees in the aggregate.
I guess I'm getting more confused with every sentence, to be honest. It strikes me as though there's no reason for the county executive to have to choose one path or the other based on this legislation. Is that what you're telling us?
I'm not telling, that's not what I'm saying, yes. What I'm saying is that there's a difference in terminology, and it's an important difference in terminology, so that in order to execute on this legislation, it needs to be clarified, and I'm glad you brought this up, that the earnest money is a deposit. It's a refundable deposit, and it's involved in commercial real estate transactions, residential real estate transactions. It's a good faith deposit, and that could be whatever the negotiated amount is, and that's off to the side. Then we go through our due diligence, and we try to make sure that this property works, and then simultaneously on a separate track, because of the substitute legislation, there is the issue of the extension of the sales and use tax. So there's the due diligence on the property, and then there's the extension of the sales and use tax. Now, if we come up to the end of the due diligence period established under the contract, and we don't have one or the other, we don't have the due diligence done, or we don't have the extension of the sales and use taxes for 40 years in place, approved under the terms of the substitute resolution. If we don't have that, at that point, we got to make a call. Do we want to pay for the right to extend the period of time within which we can purchase that property for another 90 days? And if we do, then that's the option fee, and we might pay $200,000 for 90 days. And then what happens if we do that? Well, we get another 90 days to work out the due diligence, to work out the extension of the sales and use taxes for 40 years. But by paying that $200,000, we risk losing it if we ultimately do not purchase the property. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the $750,000 in your example of good faith deposit, earnest money,
That's not my example. That's
oh, I'm
in
sorry,
the contract.
yeah.
That's in the agreement, I believe.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't make, yes.
No,
I didn't want this body thinking I made a
correct.
number up.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, yes, thank you. The example on the table, which is reflected in the draft of the current agreement, correct. So at the end of that 90-day period of time, if we are able to close on the property, if the sales and use taxes are extended within that first 90-day option period, and if all of the due diligence is done, we're done. We buy the property at the agreed-upon price, the agreed-upon property at the agreed-upon price, and what have we invested? $200,000 of an option fee, but we get that back in the purchase price. Now, if we come up to the end of that 90-day period, and we haven't worked out what we need to work out on either one of those two tracks, we might choose to purchase another 90-day option for another $200,000, and that gets added to the $200,000 option fee already purchased. Now we got $400,000 worth of option fees out there, and we're at risk for that full $400,000 for another 90 days. And then the same analysis takes place. If we're able to extend the sales and use taxes and everything else works out, we purchase the property, the $400,000 gets applied to the purchase price, and everything's great. If we don't close on that purchase price, on the purchase of the property, I'm sorry, we lose the $400,000 of option fee. Now, what happens to the earnest money back at the ranch? The earnest money, that's refundable. It's the option fees that we lose if the property doesn't close, and that's an important distinction. And I'm glad you brought it up because it's important for direction for those moving forward with the execution of the agreement pursuant to the substitute legislation that we have that clarified. So thank you again for bringing that up. And again, I'll let the co-sponsors speak for themselves as to their intent, but that's my interpretation. And
I'm not asking your intent. I was just asking you to
my
interpret.
interpretation, yes.
And your interpretation, my understanding is what you had mentioned, is that because we have this option on there, unless these later two items get approved as far as the tax, this transaction would not go forward, because that would be a controlling factor.
In this substituted resolution, yes, if the sales and use taxes are not extended then in that case, that's correct. The deal does not go forward.
Adding that language.
There's a contingency by adding, not with respect to the option fee, but the second part is critical, and it does link moving forward with the property purchase to the extension of the sales and use taxes. That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Any comments or questions? Not at this time, Madam Clerk, why don't you have...
Sorry. I cannot support this the way it's now with that second contingency on it, that if we don't pass the sales and use tax as written in later on, we have prohibited this county from going forward to control the land, which controls the project, which starts all the whole process. So I will not be supporting this.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this additional language, I think it clouds the issue, and it puts the county at additional unnecessary risk. We already had a built-in time frame within which to get a sales tax or funding for this project done, and all this does is cloud the issue, and I will not be supporting it either.
Mr. President, just as a reminder, the last time we considered purchasing property for the purpose of building a jail, it was a combined piece of legislation. Both were inherent that we would have funding to build a jail and to buy property on which to build. So unfortunately, this came to us in two separate ways, and that's inherently what the problem is. And I think what the risk really is to taxpayers is to buy property that we can't build on.
Further comments? Madam Clerk, we're going to have a roll call.
Mr. Tuma?
No.
Mr. Gallagher?
Yes.
Mr. Schron?
No.
Ms. Conwell?
No.
Ms. Turner? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No.
Ms. Stevens?
No.
Ms. Simon?
No.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney?
Yes.
Council President Jones?
This has been a challenging item, a challenging vote and decision. I've had my concerns about the project, and I've voiced them, and I was also deeply concerned that I made the public and private request that we have public engagement so that I might hear the concerns of the residents beforehand, and that did not happen. At this moment, although it is decided, I will vote no as well. I will cast a no vote as well.
That's freaking.
It really has been a challenging decision. This truly is difficult. I genuinely wish there had been community engagement beforehand We saw this project. RFP first. This RFP was seen first, and to see the dollar amount change from the 22 million that we saw Garfield originally, and then to see it where it is now, it has been genuinely difficult for me. I understand why many of our colleagues have just changed their thought processes based on what was just heard. I heard it as well, and I was certainly impacted by that. But I am, my final decision for my vote is, it is yes. It is yes for Garfield. That is where I was from the beginning, and I will remain there despite what I just heard. So, Madam Clerk, record my vote as a yes.
Instead of a no.
Instead of a no, yes. It is yes.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, it's because you're speaking on this, I am 100% in favor of the Garfield Heights site. 100% in favor of it. It was what took place this afternoon to actually link this with an artificial control. And so as a result, I will change my vote to yes also.
Good job.
So I'm a bit confused.
Then you go yes now? Come on, we got it.
So so Mr. Schwan is a yes?
Come on.
Yes, and here's why, because I refuse to be held hostage for this.
Yeah, this is what they're trying right here.
Right.
That's absolutely.
Mr. President, can you get order with Mr. Sweeney's comments? This is what we're trying.
You need to be recognized, young lady.
We're going to take turns. We will give everyone opportunity.
Mr. President, could I have the floor for a second? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm just trying to gather where we're at on the vote here, because some folks changed the vote, and here's the. I'm actually in favor of the site.
Yes.
I'm not in favor of the amendment, but my question is to law. Is there an ability to go back to the original piece of legislation or not, or does that have to be brought?
We can do whatever we want.
Or does that have to be brought at another meeting?
No, we don't go back to, well, let her answer.
No, I'll direct
Let her
you.
answer, yeah.
If the substitute legislation was approved out of committee and has been given a vote, and so if the vote is a majority yes, then the substitute legislation has been thus approved at that point. So to bring, maybe I'm failing to understand the question, but to bring the other resolution back, I'm not sure what that would mean in this context, because the council has voted on the substitute. So there would have to be a reintroduction, I guess, in direct answer to your question, a reintroduction of the resolution, because there has been a substitute approved and reported out of committee and voted on.
Right, it was approved. So how's it going to change now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. President, what's the vote count, current vote count?
The current vote count is, it is 6 noes to 5, but the clerk can.
I was just going to read it into the record. I just want to take the vote again so we're all clear. Okay, again, Mr. Tuma is a no.
Correct.
Mr. Gallagher is a yes. Mr. Schran is a yes. Ms. Conwell is a no. Correct? Ms. Turner is a no. Ms. Stevens is a no. Ms. Simon is a no. Mr. Kelly is a yes. Mr. Miller is a yes. Mr. Sweeney is a yes.
Yes.
Council President Jones is a yes.
I'm a yes.
Mr. President, point of order. Is there, Council Legal Advisor, can we call for a motion to reconsider the original amendment to this legislation so as to put the original legislation back in place before we had the substitute? Can we call for I believe that Roberts allows us to recall this vote as far as the substitute being substituted out there, and call for that vote to actually be removed and go back to the original. I believe that there's a Roberts that allows us to make that motion, to go back to the original and withdraw that, the amendment.
This being highly irregular, I would...
Highly irregular, I get it.
I would request a recess then to consider that, because I do not know that off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Mr. King is at the podium.
So just as a point of clarification, of course, I defer to the law director on all final decisions as it relates to the procedures. The rules of council do allow members to change their vote before the announcement of the vote has been made, with the discretion of the presiding officer, which I believe happened in this instance. There is also a...
Was it announced, just so I'm clear?
It was not announced prior to the council president and Councilman Schron changing their vote. There is also a motion to reconsider that is in order. And what the rules state in this is a motion to reconsider must be made by a member who voted on the prevailing side when the question was first voted on, and must be made on the same day or at the next meeting of council or committee at which the question was originally voted on. And I believe typically in Robert's Rules of Order, a motion to reconsider is a motion to reconsider the same vote that occurred before, but it is always within the discretion of council, I believe, to again, substitute the amendment, but that would require a separate vote. So again, defer to the law director on the ultimate answer here, but it is Rule 9G is the motion to reconsider.
And I see 10D on the change of vote.
10D is on the change of vote, correct.
Vote was different at the beginning?
Within the discretion of the chair, a member may change their vote before the roll is officially announced by the
Before the
clerk.
announcement of the vote, yes.
Meredith has the floor. Meredith Turner.
I'm changing my vote.
Mr. President, I have a question.
I'm sorry, Meredith, are you finished?
I'm finished.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you. When the clerk read off the votes,
Everybody's changed, so I
did
don't know,
that
Kelvin.
cover what Mr. King just said? That's my question. Our clerk read off everybody's vote. Does that stop it at this point, or that's my question, Mr. King?
My interpretation, just personal interpretation of the rules, is that once the clerk has announced the results of the vote, then that would end the period at which point members could change their votes on that, absent a motion to reconsider.
Any other comments?
Just my question, it was you're indicating that there is still appropriate time right now to ask for a motion to reconsider.
That is correct. A member who voted.
Appropriate time is right now.
Right now or at the next council meeting.
Right.
Those are the.
So if there's somebody who moved to support it, now is the time for them to make that motion. To reconsider the substitute and go back to the original.
I'll make that motion to reconsider.
So now, before we go there, we
You're not
still
able
have
to.
we can't go there until we close out the other piece. So we are in discussion right now. I am not of the mind to go back and change what was done before. Okay, if we're going down that path, is that where we're going? We've all cast our vote for the previous. And every decision we've made, I've made based on what has already happened. So the idea of going back to either today or next council meeting, I don't support that. Just so you know, I don't support that. I will make my final decision based on that.
I support trying to get a deal done.
So what he just stated, what Council President who changed his vote, he said he doesn't, he supported the initial thing earlier. So now he's changing his vote, so I don't know
So
from
he-
his, if your statement now says
So,
that.
when the conversation, Yvonne, went to changing what has happened to the past, I don't support that. With that information, if that's where we want to go, if you want to reopen what we've already done, again, I just don't support that.
Mr. President, you just changed your vote.
I did.
So we don't
And
want to
we
go
are
back
not
and change
done.
our votes.
You are allowed, just as I am allowed.
Yes, you
Yes,
are.
I am allowed. Yes.
Yes, you are. Could I have the floor to counsel?
Yes.
To our legal counsel, Mike, if this proposed amendment fails, what becomes of the original piece of legislation that was here? Is that dead in the water?
So there's no authority under the council rules to kill a piece of legislation. The legislation before you right now that was substituted in committee, and it currently exists in the form as substituted in committee. If the legislation is not adopted by this council, it still is pending before the council in its current form. It could again be substituted or amended, but that would require a separate vote before a final adoption vote.
Thank you.
So with that, those conversations going on, and the idea that we would go back and reopen everything, I'm going to remain a no. I'm going to go back, be a no. I am a no. And then we will deal with how we move forward after that. Do we need to call it again, or the only ones who have spoke differently is myself and Councilman Strawn?
But we have two other colleagues that changed their vote as well.
Okay, so let's do
Mr.
that.
President, if I would recommend just from a procedural standpoint.
I'm confused.
Yeah, so to help clarify, what might be most appropriate is for a member of the prevailing side, which I believe was yes on the original call prior to the announcement of the vote by the clerk. If one of the members of the prevailing side were to make a motion to reconsider, and that
We're
motion
not discussing that, though. We're talking about the vote now, I thought, on this Garfield.
Live vote happening right now.
We're not, we made a motion, you're talking about a reconsideration of something we already passed in the committee?
It would be, no, it wouldn't be to reconsider the proposed substitute. It's to reconsider the motion to adopt the resolution as substituted. Just as a matter of procedure.
Right.
It would be a motion to reconsider the vote, which would basically void the last roll call.
Got it.
And then another motion could be made to again move to adopt the resolution as substituted in committee. And that would provide the opportunity for everybody to offer a fresh vote and.
As long as the motion to reconsider is made by a member who voted on the prevailing side.
Okay,
When the
so-
question is first voted on.
If we have to kill the amendment, I will vote also no, because I voted against it in the first place. I'm not in favor of the amendment, so I will let my vote retain at the no then. And we've killed.
So,
Mr.
Madam Clerk,
President,
what we'll do now, yes, you have a comment?
just to take another roll call. I don't think we need
That's what we're going to do. Madam Clerk, let's have a fresh roll call.
Can we have an explanation on
Sure.
what we're voting on?
So again, we are voting on, again, Resolution 182 to purchase the land or to not. As substituted.
Mr.
Yes
President,
or no.
Mr.
Councilman
President.
Miller.
Okay, let's
Point
take
of order.
turns. Councilman Miller has the floor now.
Am I correct that the motion as substituted passed the council and the result was announced? Is that correct?
That is correct.
So unless someone makes a motion to reconsider, another vote is not in order.
No.
It never was,
Our
it was never.
our clerk has let us know.
No, he just
Although
said it
we
was.
have,
But it wasn't.
although we have all made a vote, it is not final we're literally still in our deliberation. Although we have made a vote, we have the right to change our votes. Okay, and that's why we'll do another
Was the
recall.
vote result announced or was it not?
Not announced.
It was not announced.
Not on
It was
this.
not announced.
Okay.
So it's irregular, but it's not improper. It is part of a just difficult process. We will have an opportunity to vote again. You heard more. If you change your mind, then you can do that. If not, you'll be able to vote as you voted before. But we will have a second recall, or second roll call vote.
Okay.
Okay. Tuma,
And I am a
No.
Gallagher,
Yes.
Schron,
No.
Conwell,
No.
I'm sorry, my pen is running out of ink. Turner,
No.
Stevens, Simon,
No.
Kelly,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Sweeney,
Absolutely, yes.
Jones,
no.
Place in those.
okay. So the motion carries with seven council members voting in the affirmative and four,
This
I'm
does
sorry.
not carry.
I'm sorry. Let me repeat that again. We have seven council members. Let me just do this one more time.
Let's give her a second. Let's take a moment.
Okay, we have seven council members casting dissenting votes and four council members casting affirmative votes.
All right. That is the official tally.
Mr. President. I just want to thank the council. It's been a very, very long day, very confusing. And being one of the co-sponsors on this legislation, I can appreciate the intricacies that we have been dealing with all day today. It is now clear to me that we're at a point where decisions have to be made. Is if I heard Mike King correctly, that the original legislation is still alive?
Thank you. Michael King, council staff. The legislation as substituted is still pending before council. It has been, the motion to adopt did not pass this evening, but it remains pending. All legislation remains pending before council until it is either withdrawn by the sponsor or a new session of council begins at the end of 2024.
The original, before we.
The substituted version is the current version before.
The current version just passed. It's not pending. You just said,
The current version just failed.
oh, it just failed.
Just failed.
Yeah. So the current version as substituted in
As said,
committee
failed.
remains pending before council because there's no mechanism by which the council rules allow legislation to to die without it being withdrawn or the expiration of the council
So new
term.
legislation mimicking the original legislation would have to be submitted by the administration?
That is always a possibility, or the pending legislation as substituted could again be amended.
Okay, well, that's not going to happen.
Which would be a further substitute.
Right, well, it's my opinion that died. We made a valiant attempt. We need to move on. If the administration submits the old legislation, I'll be for purchasing, allowing him to purchase the property. We've got to move on.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I support the Garfield site. I just did not support the amendment, and I do appreciate my colleagues, fighting the good fight. That's what we do up here. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Any other comments? Yes.
As you indicated, you too supported the Garfield site, as do I support the Garfield site, and I hope that we can bring this forward to a vote on a clean vote without all amendments to it.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, can we vote on the taxes?
All right, that's let us move on.
Resolution 2023-0208, confirming the county executive's appointments and reappointments of various individuals to serve on the Cuyahoga Regional HIV Health Services Planning Council for various terms. Appointments for the term August 1st, 2023 through July 31st, 2026. We have Anthony Thomas, Daytona Harris, and Elizabeth Aquiriano. For reappointment for the term October 28th, 2023 through July 31st, 2026, we have Leander Lovett.
Move to adopt. This legislation was introduced on July 18th and referred to the Human Resources Appointments and Equity Committee. We heard from Zoe Tuscas regarding these nominations. The Ryan White HIV Planning Council serves the 6-county Northeast Ohio region and provides assistance in developing policies and linking services for disadvantaged HIV patients in the region. These 4 individuals all presented to the committee and displayed a heightened passion for service. This council and this county are truly blessed to have these dedicated public servants working for the betterment of our residents. I ask for my colleagues' support for this legislation to allow the excellent work of the council to continue with these passionate members.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0209, declaring that public convenience and welfare requires the resurfacing of Snow Road from Ridge Road to State Road in the city of Parma at a total estimated project cost of $2,429,196.
Motion to adopt. Mr. President, on July 26, 2023, Mr. Eric Mack of Public Works came before the Public Works Committee and discussed this legislation. This road was previously resurfaced in 2009. It's a 1.3-mile stretch of the road. Its funding is 80% federal, 10% the city of Parma, 10% from the county road and bridge funds, and it is estimated to start in the spring of 2025. I'd ask for my colleagues' support on this piece of legislation.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0210, approving right-of-way exhibits as set forth in plat number M5052 for rehabilitation of North Marginal Road connector from East 9th Street to East 55th Street in the city of Cleveland.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
And, Mr. President, Jessica French from Public Works came before the Public Works Committee on July 26, 2023 to discuss this. This is a 2.7-mile trail. The county is the lead on the project. And this is the second piece of legislation coming forward on this project, and additional legislation was discussed at the last Public Works Committee as well. The estimated amount for acquiring the right-of-ways is $150,000, which will come from the County Road and Bridge Fund, and I'd ask for my colleagues' support on this.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0211, fixing the 2024 water, storm, and sanitary sewer maintenance and/or sewerage treatment rates for County Sewer District numbers 1, 1A, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, 13, 14, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 24, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 6117.02.
Move to adopt.
Second.
And, Mr. President, this came before Public Works Committee, Mr. Sotak, on July 26th as well. And this is required annually by the Ohio Revised Code, and I would ask for my colleagues' support on this.
Council President, that we do have.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I just didn't want you to vote on it before the proposed substitute changes got incorporated into the legislation. During last week's Public Works Committee, there was discussion and I think a little bit of confusion on the different departments, including our council staff, in terms of who was going to introduce the proposed changes in the legislation. So for 2020-23 we have 5 changes that we're asking that council incorporate. The first one is on page 2. The date says it's 2023 at the header in section 1. It should read 2024. On page 3 for sewer area number 9, Garfield Heights sanitary sewers, it currently reads $2.20 per linear foot. That should be $2.70. And for Maple Heights, for sanitary sewers, it currently reads $2.25, and that should be $2.60. For the storm sewers for Maple Heights, it currently reads 95 cents. That should say 60 cents. So each one is changed by 35 cents. And then the fifth and final change is on page 5 in section 3 of the legislation. It reads September 14th, 2020. That should read September 11th, 2023. So I'm respectfully asking the council to incorporate those 5 changes into this piece of legislation.
Okay, do I have to make a motion to amend, Council Clerk? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll make the motion to amend 2023-0211 with those additional changes.
Second.
Does this mean that we're accepting the proposed substitute?
Yes, the proposed substitute, wasn't sure if it was in your packet or not, but incorporates those 5 changes that I referenced.
All right,
All right, so it's been properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion on it?
No, and this was discussed in Public Works. Thank you, though.
Okay, so all those in favor of accepting the proposed substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Please add my name.
Let's add Councilwoman Turner's name.
Thank you.
And with that, all those in favor of accepting, of adopting the resolution based on the merits as substituted, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0212, approving and confirming the 2024 water, storm, and sanitary sewer maintenance and/or sewerage treatment assessments for County Sewer District numbers, again, 1, 1A, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, 13, 14, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 24, in accordance with Ohio Revised Code, Section 6117.02.
Motion, I believe we have substitutions on this one as well. Should he read those first?
Yeah, I can read those. There are only 2 changes to Resolution 2023-0212. The other 3 got corrected over the last couple weeks. Those 2 changes would reflect sewer area number 9 to Maple Heights, where the sanitary sewer amount would be $2.60 per linear foot, and the storm sewers would be reduced to 60 cents from the 95 cents that is listed on the document. So those 2 changes need to be incorporated. I don't believe there's a proposed substitute for that, but that can be changed through an amendment by the chairman.
All right, appreciate that. And I'll make a motion to amend our 2023-0212 with the changes that Mr. Mackler indicated.
Second.
And, Mr. President, this was also heard at the July 26, 2023 meeting, and it is the companion piece to R0212, is the companion piece to R0211 and required by Ohio Revised Code as well, and I would ask for my colleagues' support on this.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
For clarification, just can I get the motion to approve and the second? Not for the amendment, just the regular motion to approve and the second for 2023-0212.
Okay, I think I made the motion to approve.
Thank you.
And a second.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Resolution 2023-0213, making an award on requisition 12725 with Specialized Construction Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $1,082,130.86 for asphalt resurface preservation, crack sealing, and striping for the 2023 countywide preventative maintenance program.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
And, Mr. President, Mr. Tom Sotak of Public Works came before us on July 26, 2023 to discuss this. This is part of the annual countywide program, and it's county sponsors projects. This is about 5 to 7 years after the road has been improved, and it keeps up with the maintenance on the roads that the county has recently improved. Let's see, it's coming 100% by the Bridge and County Road and Bridge Fund. So I'd ask my colleagues' support on this as well.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Please add my name to 212 and 213.
That Councilwoman Turner's name.
Thank you.
Gotcha.
Resolution 2023-0214, making awards on requisition 12381 with various engineering firms in the total amount not to exceed $1,350,000 for general engineering services, commencing upon contract signature of all parties for a period of 3 years for the items A through C as listed on the agenda.
Motion to adopt. And, Mr. President, this came before Public Works on July 26, 2023 as well, and this is based on a call-by-call basis, and it's used for smaller bridge projects, smaller culverts as well, and there are 2 newer firms that are being used by the county, and we'd ask for, it's again 100% funded by County Road and Bridge, and ask for council's support on this. Thank you.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0215, making an award on requisition 12731 with R.L. Hill Management, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $2,155,521 for construction of a multipurpose room addition at the Cuyahoga County Animal Shelter.
Yes, this came before Public Works as well, and it was thoroughly discussed. I didn't know, is there anybody here from the animal shelter to discuss this? Any questions? Mr. Dever, we had a quite thorough discussion on this, and I know there was something about a committee that we were waiting to hear potentially back. Mr. Miller made an amendment to the legislation.
Yeah, Michael Dever, Department of Public Works, coming before the committee today. Yeah, our contractor, our low bidder for this contract was the low bidder, but he did not meet the DEI threshold, and it was going back to the reconsideration committee this Thursday for consideration of the documentation that he's being presented. And then in turn, I think there was a stipulation added to the legislation that based on the outcome from that committee hearing this coming Thursday, that council would move forward with the item, give it their approval to move forward with R.L. Hill as our recommended contractor for this improvement at the animal.
That's right. And also, the administration felt comfortable moving forward with the legislation as was, and equity inclusion was part of the discussion during the committee meeting as well.
That's correct. And Ms. Lockett, actually, Matt Reimer from my office and Ms. Lockett had discussions on it, and they will both be at the committee. Not speaking for Ms. Lockett, but I understand that she is looking favorable on moving this item forward.
All right, thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Miller. Oh, I'm sorry. Got in a council mode here.
Mr. President.
Yes.
I don't believe a motion to adopt was made on this, so I'm going to make that motion.
Okay.
I'll second that. All right.
Probably moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Resolution 2023-0216, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Trinity Services Group, Inc. for jail food services for the Cuyahoga County Jail System for the period June 15th, 2020 through June 14th, 2023, to extend the time period to September 30th, 2023, and for additional funds in the amount of $936,886 for a total not to exceed amount of, excuse me, for a total of $9,863,545.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, this was heard in committee. We had the Sheriff's Department representatives here. This is a hot button item for many people. What this does is buy some more time for the administration and the sheriff to allow Trinity to change the way in which food's being made and delivered within the facility, and we'll see where that takes us. So we have the new sheriff on board, and this gives him the ability to see Trinity at their, hopefully their best, and we can discuss further where we're going to go with this contract a little way down the road.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh,
Mr. President?
let's record Councilwoman Cheryl Stevens as a no, and
No.
and Councilwoman Conwell as a no, and Councilman Miller, you have the floor.
Yes, like the other one, no motion to adopt or second was made on this, so reluctantly, because of my concerns about Trinity, I'm prepared to make that motion to help get this problem resolved.
So you made the motion, I'll make the second.
I didn't.
Mr. Gallagher made the motion, I made the second.
Councilman Miller, repeat your concern. Maybe I didn't understand what you were saying.
Was there a motion made?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
then-
there was.
Okay, then I take that back, sorry.
All right.
Can I clarify, can I do a roll call for the
Yeah.
vote, please?
The Trinity.
Mr. Tuma,
Yes.
Mr. Gallagher,
Yes.
Mr. Schran,
Yes.
Ms. Conwell,
No.
Ms. Turner,
No.
Ms. Stevens,
No.
Ms. Simon,
No.
Mr. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney,
We need to keep them fed, yes.
Council President Jones.
Yes.
Okay. So the motion I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
The motion carries. We have, 7 council members voting in the affirmative with 4 council members casting dissenting votes, sorry.
Yes.
The reason I voted no, and I'm assuming my colleagues did too, is there's a statement that needs to be made here. This company has served slop, and both myself and my colleague, Meredith Turner, have been without each other there to look at the food, and we're not pleased at all with the quality, quantity, or service. And so a statement needs to be made to them that they've got to clean this up, because we will work to make sure that there is a better quality of food served to the people who are incarcerated.
Ms. Stevens, if you could, we couldn't hardly hear you on your microphone.
Okay. My colleagues heard me. It was no in a protest because I don't believe this company serves quality food. You know, one of the things I said to one of my colleagues is, we don't want anything, we're not looking for cordon bleu here. We're looking for a vegetable, a starch, and a protein that is consumable and is palatable. It doesn't have to be the best you ever tasted, but it should be digestible. And what this does, when it's food that is unpalatable, is it pushes people to spend more in the canteen, which is pure junk food and really of no quality. And that is what I'm opposed to. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilman?
heard loud and clear.
I as well support the message. My yes vote was a pragmatic vote to again, continue what needs to be done on a daily basis. But I share the message that's being sent. All right, Madam Clerk.
Resolution 2023-0217, authorizing an amendment with various providers for real estate appraisal services in connection with the sheriff's sale for the period September 1st, 2017 through August 31st, 2021, to extend the time period to August 31st, 2026, and to modify various terms effective upon contract signature of all parties for the various providers listed on the agenda, A through U.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, this was also heard in committee, and the recommendation is to move forward.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0218, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for emergency assistance services for the period September 1st, 2021 through August 31st, 2023, to extend the time period to August 31st, 2024, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $1,575,000.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, it was clear, the legislation clearly explains what it's for. I ask for approval.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0219, authorizing an amendment with various providers for permanent supportive housing services to chronically homeless single adults and high-barrier homeless persons for the period July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2023, to extend the time period to June 30th, 2024, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $2 million for the various providers A through G as listed on the agenda. And as a note, Councilman Tuma will recuse himself on item D.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right, this was fully vetted in committee, and we need permanent supportive housing to assist with the housing needs in Cuyahoga County. So I ask for my colleagues' support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0220, authorizing an amendment to a contract with Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry for operations and case management services for a 400-bed men's emergency shelter located at 2100 Lakeside Avenue in Cleveland, and for facilitation and coordination of overflow shelter services for single adults and families at various locations for the period January 1st, 2023 through August 19th, 2023, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2023, and for additional funds in the total amount not to exceed $1,575,000.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, this was fully vetted in the Health and Human Services Committee. I ask for approval.
All right. And in fact, before we go further, I think Councilman Tuma stated he was recusing himself from the previous
From
item.
item
Yes.
D.
On the entire item, it has
Yes.
to be. It can't be one.
Okay, the
one
whole
thing.
thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Okay. Councilman Conlon has had comment. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
And then one recusal.
No, that was on the prior.
The recusal's on 2023-0219. Thank you.
Item D.
Gotcha.
Oh,
Okay.
the whole thing.
The whole thing or item D?
It's my understanding it has to be the entire piece.
Entire piece,
Thank
okay.
you.
All right. Consideration of resolution for third reading adoption.
Resolution 2023-0180, confirming the county executive's appointment of Kelly Lynn Woodard upon her taking the oath of office as Director of Communications and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective.
Move to adopt.
Second.
All right, at this moment, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Do we want to take a moment to have the official swearing in? Yes.
Oh, we get the law director to come up.
Thank you, Council President.
Yeah.
All right, we'll share this microphone. It's now my honor and privilege.
Let the family get up here.
I don't think we have a,
Is there a
hang on
Bible?
one second. Let me get the microphone closer. It's now my honor and privilege to swear in Kelly Lynn Woodward as the next Director of Communications. Before we begin, Ms. Woodward, would you like to introduce your honored guests?
Yes. For most people that know me, they know that both of my parents are deceased, so they're kind of here but not really here. But because I am an only child, I've been blessed to make friends who then become family along the way. And so with me is Theron and Maddie Harris, who have taken me in as their own. And so they are here as my parents.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. And now, if you would kindly raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Kelly Lynn Woodard,
I, Kelly Lynn Woodard,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
uphold,
uphold,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the Charter and laws
and the Charter and laws
of the County of Cuyahoga, Ohio,
and the County of Cuyahoga, Ohio,
that I will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
diligently,
diligently,
and impartially
and impartially
perform and discharge
perform and discharge
all of the powers and duties
all of the powers and duties
incumbent upon me
incumbent upon me
as Director of Communications
as Director of Communications
in and for the County of Cuyahoga,
in and for the County of Cuyahoga,
State of Ohio,
State of Ohio,
according to the best of my ability
according to the best of my ability
and understanding,
and understanding,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. She has a few words.
I guess I'm always prepared. I would like to thank the county executive for nominating me for this position. I'd also like to thank his administration for their support, and you, the county council, for trusting me to lead the communications of this county. I also like to thank the comms team that has been doing the work and has made great strides. Together, I think with everyone's continued support, I am confident we will build a stronger, more connected, and informed county. So now let's get to work. Thank you.
Please add my name to this legislation.
Let's add Councilwoman Turner's name.
Duly noted. Resolution 2023-0195, declaring that public convenience and welfare requires the resurfacing of West 140th Street from Puritas Avenue to Lakewood Heights Boulevard in the city of Cleveland at a total estimated project cost of $5,872,981.
Move to adopt.
Second. Yeah, 140. We want it.
Yes. This came before Public Works, and we discussed it thoroughly, and I would ask for my colleagues' support on this.
Would you be considered to add my names, Mr. President?
Let's add Councilman's name.
Mr. President,
Councilman,
please add my name as well.
add his name as well.
Thank you.
Okay. We need an overall vote.
Aye.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0196, declaring that public convenience and welfare requires the replacement of Shaft Road Bridge number 02.89 over the West Creek in the city of Independence at a total estimated project cost of $2,405,600.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. President, this came before Public Works on July 12, 2023. This is going to be covered 80% federal funding and 20% county road and bridge fund. It's the estimated date for construction is not until 2025. The bridge was constructed in 1935, and it's part of a NOACA project, and it's rated a 4 out of 10, and this is for design construction here at this point, and they'll be coming back for some additional stuff, but I ask for council colleagues' support. Thank you.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0199, adopting the 2023 Economic Development Plan in accordance with Section 7.05 of the Cuyahoga County Charter and Section 801.01 of the Cuyahoga County Code.
Move to substitute.
Second.
Mr. President, my colleagues, with the support of Chairman Schwan and the administration, which I appreciate, the substitute simply adds a section to the 5-year economic development plan which reports on the progress made during the previous year. You have a copy of the substitute version on your desks, and I request your support to accept the substitute. Thank you.
All those in favor of accepting the proposed substitute, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And
Resolution,
now,
I'm
now
sorry.
all those in favor of adopting the resolution on its merits as substituted, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Resolution 2023-0200, authorizing an amendment to a master contract with various providers for the Comprehensive Case Management Employment Program, Employment, Education, and Training Services for young adults for the period April 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023, to change the terms effective April 1st, 2023, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $829,059.
Move to adopt.
Second.
This matter was perfunctory, heard in committee, just to extend a contract. I ask for your support.
All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Consideration of an ordinance for first reading and referral to committee.
Ordinance 2023-0014, providing for the adoption of a new Section 3.04 of the Cuyahoga County Employee Handbook.
This item will be referred to the Human Resources, Appointments, and Equity Committee. Committee reports and consideration of ordinance of second reading adoption under suspension of rules.
Mr. President, I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Probably moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Rules are suspended. A point of clarity now. Now that at this moment, since the legislation did not pass, where do we go with the sales tax, at least for today?
We vote. We vote.
Okay, all right.
They're separate. They came to us separate, so we vote
All right,
as it
continue.
came.
Mr. President, you're calling for discussion? What were you doing there?
Let's continue.
I'm just,
No, the only point was, I didn't know if it
I'm just figuring
went
out.
away or if we needed to vote. So it is for vote. It is here for vote. Yeah, yeah. All right, Madam Clerk, please continue. Have you read the item into the record?
Excuse me. Ordinance number 2023-0012, amending and codifying Board of County Commissioners Resolution number 2007-07-3101, dated July 26, 2007, and enacting new Chapter 727, Section 727.01 of the Cuyahoga County Code to change the period of time during which the county sales tax shall be levied at the aggregate rate of 1 1/4%.
Mr. President.
Councilman?
Mr. President, and my colleagues, given what happened on the jail site earlier in the day, it's clear that the sales tax legislation isn't ready to be approved tonight, and so I move to refer this legislation back to the Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Continue.
So why, Dale, do we need to refer this back to the committee? We can vote, some of us believe that the people should vote on this, whether we go to Garfield or Kirby or Transportation.
Mr. President?
That could.
I'd like to have some of this too, Mr. President.
Let's see if anyone wants to respond to.
I was asking Mr. Miller. 'Cause
Yes, so that can occur whether or not this particular legislation is in the Committee of the Whole or in the council. I just didn't sense that the council was ready to take final action this evening. If we are, then we can proceed.
Be done with it.
If we're, President?
Councilman?
If we're in discussion for purposes of whether or not to send this back to Committee of the Whole, I'm comfortable actually making a decision this evening without necessarily having to go back to Committee of the Whole. So I'm prepared to have my thoughts and my discussion in regards to that. So right now, what's before us is obviously a referral back to the Committee of the Whole. That's an up or down vote, and then we come back, I assume, to the, if it stays here, then we have an up or down vote on the legislation itself.
Mr. President?
Councilman?
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to have some more discussion on this because I would have liked to have seen the possibility of having lesser number of years, and I'm just not comfortable at the moment without further discussion on the number of years. We got a piece of that tonight, but I just would like to have more discussion on it. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Councilwoman.
My hand was up a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, ladies first. My Vice Chair.
We're going to do age before beauty. Go right ahead.
I bet
gonna
we're the
leave-
same
I'm-
age, Marty.
I'm
I
just gonna
bet we're
leave
the
that
same
alone for
age.
now.
Go, Marty. Floor is
We're going to leave that one alone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just, my reflection is, this is I'm going on the soapbox, this is a perfect opportunity for us to talk as a caucus, because this is a big deal in regards to other, I've heard nothing from any of my colleagues. I didn't reach out. I've talked to a couple, but we've had 2 hearings back and forth, and I didn't even know for sure it was going to be voted on today, because this was all back and forth. So I'm glad we did what we did with the jail site. And on this one, I would love to go back and have further discussions and actually understand each and every one of my colleagues' perspectives and make a more informed vote, not just on mine, but trying to take the information in from my colleagues. And I've always preached that. I'm just saying this is a perfect example for that. So thank you.
And we hear your point. I saw a motion. Where are we? Again, Councilman Miller has made the first and second because they thought there might not be a desire to move forward and just vote.
We have a first and a second and a roll call.
They can withdraw it if this body feels like they want to move forward and vote right now.
Okay, so I just want to say
Or
that
it
this
could
has
be-
been on the agenda. There's no surprise. This was under second reading suspension. We've all had a chance to do that. Several colleagues have voiced their concern that this should not be voted on by this council, that it should go to the people to fund a jail. So that's what we've heard, and it's been on the agenda. So I suggest that we not move this back into committee.
I seeing a hand. Councilman Kelly? Okay.
Yes, my opinion has been the same from the very beginning, that you don't ask and spend $3.4 billion without asking the support of the voters. And so as a result, my opinion will not change whether it's a 40-year or $3.2 billion. a 30-year at $2.2 billion. Those are important decisions to ask the taxpayers how would they like to pay for it. I believe that when presented with the right communication and the right messaging, that we can point out that as far as the value of having a proper facility done the right way to care for people, to give them training, to give them education, to give them a site whereby they are actually seeing a reformation of wherever they went, because I'm a big supporter of second chance individuals in my own business, and so I think we could get that message out and do it the right way and ask the taxpayers to support it, and in which case it's not going to change my decision, whether it's today, back in committee of the whole, or wherever, because I think this is too important to not present to the voters. And by the way, I still am supporting of the Garfield site.
So I'm counting a majority of those who want to move forward with the vote. Are you willing to withdraw your first and second, or do you want us to vote on yours and let it be made evident? Which approach would you? I'll leave it with you, Councilman.
I'll accept the chairman's recommendation and withdraw.
Willing to withdraw your second? Okay, all right. Okay. All right, so now they have both been withdrawn by the respective presenters. So we will continue with the vote. You have read the item into the record, so we will do a roll call.
Tuma,
No.
Gallagher, Schron,
No.
Conwell,
No.
Turner,
No.
Stevens,
No.
Simon,
No.
Kelly,
No.
Miller,
No.
Sweeney,
No.
Jones.
No.
Okay. We have 11 council members casting dissenting votes. So the, excuse me.
All right, at this moment for the second item, we will again need to make a motion to suspend Rule 9D.
Mr. President, I make that motion.
Second, I thought we already,
Moved and seconded.
Yeah, we did.
We did, it appears we need it. So all those in favor
we
say
already
aye.
did suspend.
All those in favor
we'll
of
do it
suspending
again.
those rules, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, Madam Clerk, you can read the
Ordinance
Item to the record.
2023-0013, amending and codifying Board of County Commissioners Resolution Number 2007-073102, dated July 26, 2007, and enacting a new Chapter 727, Section 727.02 of the Cuyahoga County Code to change the period of time during which the county use tax shall be levied at the aggregate rate of 1 1/4%.
If there is no motion to adopt our rules of order, law clerk, help us. If we have not received them, a first or second. At this moment, no one has given us a motion to adopt.
I'll move that we have this before us for a vote.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. We will do a roll call.
Tuma,
No.
Gallagher, Schron,
No.
Conwell,
No.
Turner,
No.
Stevens,
No.
Simon,
No.
Kelly,
No.
Miller,
No.
Sweeney,
Nope.
Jones.
No.
Again, we have 11 council members casting dissenting votes.
All right. Time miscellaneous committee reports.
There are none.
Go. You want to go to, talk about September?
How about, our human resources will officially be scheduled in September. We do have our recess, I would expect on September 19th.
So Human Resources, Appointments, and Equity, September 19th at 10 a.m., because we had an item on that was referred to committee, so it's pending
And I believe
the
Public
Madam
Works.
Chair's schedule.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? They were talking. I couldn't.
Okay, so we were talking about miscellaneous reports. You do have an item that was referred to your committee. We are on recess, and we will be returning on September 12th, Tuesday, September 12th at 5 p.m. The following week, the week of the 18th, and Tuesday, September 19th at 10 a.m., you have a Human Resources, Appointments, and Equity Committee meeting if your schedule permits.
Yes.
Okay. The next item that we had, it was Public Works Procurement and Contracting. We had items referred. So September 20th at 10 a.m., if
we'll do that.
Councilmember Tuma's
Plug that
schedule
in there.
permits.
All right, excellent. Is there any miscellaneous business? If nothing else holds our attention, this meeting is adjourned.